we're going to go ahead and get started with our work session, our May 16th school board work session. We have 2 items for business, and if we have an opportunity at the end of the ITRT rules discussion, we can talk about our broadcasting, because we kind of did it 2 ways of the work session, so maybe we can end on 5 minutes for that to add if we have enough time. So first on the agenda is school board scholarships.
Yeah, this was, if you'll recall, this was on an agenda item in an earlier meeting. It was tabled for discussion, giving the board time to think about it. But the backdrop is the board has donated for many years the very tiny salary that you receive for service here to 2 different funds. That's been in place for many years. The 2 funds are passed out a document for to look at. The Poquoson Education Foundation and School Board Discretionary Fund are the 2 places that this money goes. And like I said, has been going in those 2 directions for years. And it's a choice of the board, each individual member, whether you want it to go one place or the other, or even split it. And you'll see that different you have, some of you done it one way or the other. It was mentioned by Dr. Goodell at some point about maybe creating a scholarship. And this is totally the pleasure of the board. So whatever you all would like to do, this is where the money is currently going. I made a note on here that out of the discretionary fund for several years now, Poquoson has contributed $1,000 annually for 2 New Horizons scholarships that go to Poquoson students who attend New Horizons. And again, that's been in place since before I got here. And that comes out of the discretionary fund, so school board discretionary fund. The balance in that account right now is just about, well, the $1,000 has gone out for this year, so it was $12,000. It's below $11,000 now, which could be donated directly to the Poquoson Education Foundation, could remain there in discretionary, and we use that to pay out the New Horizons, or you could do really any combination of that.
And I guess in the background of that, the history was I asked Artie about the 380, 74, whatever that is for the year. My take is I was going to do my own personal one, be able to use that, put my own personal money and give it to the Education Foundation and have a scholarship and award a family member or something like that. And go to graduate see if they go to college, trade school, or whatever criteria. I was going to talk to the counselor and see what's maybe that's something that's not really funded with high priority or something like that. So, but cheer, you guys, that's time to think about it. I don't know. I think I'll probably plan on doing that anyway. I don't know if the board wants to do their own thing, or they're happy doing the New Horizons, or keeping it for a rainy day fund, or whatever else they want to do with it.
So. We did mention this to members of PDF. They are structured to do this kind of thing. So if any of you or all of you collectively are interested in a scholarship, I would recommend that be the avenue to do it. They're set up as a 501c3 to do that kind of work. They have a very extensive system to make sure that these scholarships are maintained and checks are distributed in.
And just for everybody's reference, I mean, anything that goes to the Education Foundation to begin with ends up going back to the schools, right? So obviously they don't make a profit on anything, So I guess it all depends on how you want to look at it. I mean, it may go to expenses to fund like the Run for the Bulls to actually turn around and get funds to turn around and be able to get back to the schools. So. I think the real question is whether or not we want to ask the PEF to actually do a scholarship in the name of the school board, or do we just turn around and continue to let the school board members decide where they want their funds to go, and then we actually use the discretionary fund from a school board standpoint for scholarships.
So the school board discretionary funds, who decides where those go?
They stay in an account until you decide. The board, it is the school board's funds completely. And again, the board that was in place before I got here decided to agree to two $500 scholarships to Poquoson New Horizons students annually out of that fund. So that's been in place for some time. But the rest of that fund is just accruing money. It's at $12,000 or $11,000 after we paid $1,000 out this year. So annually, if it's set up to distribute the same way, it takes in, you all donate $1,200 annually to that fund, and $1,000 of that goes to New Horizons now. Again, you can change that any way you want to, but that's how it's set up now. So that $12,000, you could move it in a lump sum somewhere. You could leave it where it is and use it in, if something comes up that you decide you have a particular investment you want to make in kids in some way, you can do it through that. Where I came from, our board used to do the same thing, donate the money. They kept that in a fund for special needs projects. Typically, if there's an event that's going on and kids who may be economically disadvantaged, they allow the schools to tap into that fund to offset the cost. Maybe a field trip that some kids can't afford to go. That fund is used for that. So there's a variety of ways you can earmark that, but that is the balance, and it's obviously been accruing for some years.
So for the New Horizons, so that I fully understand, the $500 goes to directly to New Horizons, or it goes to the student?
Goes directly to the student. Two separate $500 scholarships goes directly to the student, but the requirement is it's a scholarship that New Horizons gives. They select the candidates. The only requirement is they have to be they have to be a Poquoson student.
And it's at their discretion?
At their discretion. They have a system very much like we do. If any of you have ever attended scholarship night, we give out a significant amount of scholarships local. New Horizons does a similar thing, and different school divisions contribute money for various scholarships that are for specifically for New Horizons students, but they typically require it to be the student that attends their school system.
I mean, the discretionary fund does seem to be accumulating, so I don't love that. I mean, it should be used. So if we have a better chance of using it maybe by going to PEF and being a bit more intentional with these funds, I mean, to your point, right now it's just slowly accumulating at $200 to $300, it seems, roughly every year. And if there hasn't been a need to pull from it in the recent past, maybe it could be better used by PEF.
I don't think we can transfer the discretionary fund to PEF. It would have to be going forward.
I think you can, only because it's your donation. This is not tax dollars. In essence, it's been paid to you, and you've in turn given it back to the school system.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, like, that 12,000 is not, like, only a small part of that is mine, or a small part of that is, you know, Mr. Burridge's, or, you know, we would be speaking for other school board members, past school board members.
You know, maybe anyway, though, honestly, anytime we use it, right?
I think you have the authority in the sense that they put it in what's called a discretionary fund, so it gives future board members, future boards, I'll say, the opportunity to spend that money because it's earmarked as discretionary. So I'm quite confident that there will be no problem with that. Of course, we'll check it out. Tracy is due to return back from her honeymoon, and when she does, we will, of course, run it by her. But I'm quite confident in my conversations with her that we can earmark that money. You have the discretion to spend that money.
And I'm not sure we don't have a need for it. I just don't think we've used it.
Maybe.
You know, I don't know that there.
I think last year we purchased band uniforms, right?
No, we didn't use school board discretionary fund, I don't think, to do that. And without Tracy here to ask her specifically, I don't think we used any of that money for that.
I think we paid
They
that
definitely
out.
purchased.
I think that was budgeted. Yeah. Uniform budget. I'm quite sure of that, I can check, and maybe a piece of that was used, I can't imagine, because it's always been, you look at the number, it's a small amount of money that accrues annually. $2,700 is the donation annually from the board, assuming that every board member decides to donate. And so that money would be kind of dropped in the bucket to buy things like band uniforms. Where it's typically used is for a specific thing for a specific group of children. Typically a need. That's where I've seen it used most often. It's not uncommon for boards to donate their compensation because it's a way to give back.
This is, my personal opinion on it. I kind of like the idea of each individual board member deciding, do they want it to go to PEF or do they want it to go to the discretionary fund? Because what that ends up doing for us is PEF can do with it as they will from a, giving back to the schools. And then, from a discretionary fund, the board itself can turn around and, decide if they want to turn around and give,
funds
for something else somewhere.
Or say that, or I don't think we've had the opportunity, and for those of you who've been on the board longer, maybe we have, and I don't know that, but have the opportunity to tell somebody, hey, if you need something,
Right.
we have money in a discretionary fund that we could bring to the board and say, would this be something we could consider using the discretionary funds for? Because I don't recall that conversation.
It hasn't happened since I've been here.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the first time I've looked at it, and it was brought up, when Tim said, well, I'd like to do this thing. I said, well, other board members might want to do the same thing, so we should have a conversation about it.
I mean, I would think openly tell principals that it's there for the exact reason that we just talked about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to that. I think you should, I think I'm okay saying you can decide how you want to allocate your dollars. So if Tim wants to work with PEF and do a scholarship in memoriam or honorarium of somebody, I think that's fine. And I think if people want to donate to the discretionary fund, but I think that the board should decide what the discretionary funds get used for.
So what happens if if I move mine to the Poquoson Education Foundation and we don't have $1,000 in the discretionary fund,
Right.
what happens to the scholarship?
Right.
Then we'd have to say we can't donate those scholarships. And again, that was an agreement made long before I got here. I'm sure it was pitched at a superintendent's meeting with the New Horizons board. Hey, we have an opportunity. The school boards want to contribute. Because that board, of course, Tim serves on that board for us. They do a variety of things for students there, and they invest a lot of money. So I think it's a valuable thing. And they, like I said, they've been doing it quite a few years.
I think Mr. Childress's comment about if we lost that $1,000, that would directly impact the student, and that I don't think is a good idea. These kids are counting on that money, so I think that's just a consideration that we need to make to keep those two scholarships funded.
It's something we want to just put on like a July or August thing where people, that way they know, hey, 3 people are using their discretionary funds to do scholarships, so other members might want to kick in so that we continue to do that. Or I don't know if you can move money from the education foundation over to the discretionary fund.
I mean, I think,
So whatever, but I think that's probably the best thing to do. That way everybody kind of has a heads up where
This campus
things
goes
are
on
going.
now.
So I'm in the left-hand column on the Poquoson Education Foundation, but next year I could, or say, all right, I'm going to move mine over to the discretionary fund, or split it, or
Right.
I think it's an education.
I think it needs to be a discussion where we all decide together, because like I said, if I just decide to scoot mine over, then all of a sudden, no one else knows, and all of a sudden, we don't have the 1,000 anymore that we
That would
would give
be
to
bad.
scholarships, and that's what goes. I think we just have to come together as a group to say, hey, I want to donate here or donate here, just to make sure that it's split if we want to do half. But if
The challenge
One of the
is,
reasons,
Yeah, 12 years of funding.
I know.
let me just mention this point, that's one of the reasons that the discretionary fund accrues, is to prevent that from happening. We don't know how this is going to change at any given time because it's been in place for many years that board members choose 2 paths. put it in one or the other or split it. And it's very simple for our bookkeeping. The PEF, we send it directly to the PEF. They do with it what they choose. And a lot of that does go to scholarships. The PEF have several scholarships that they fund exclusively, in addition to the ones that are donated and earmarked just for certain funds for scholarships. But the accrued money there, the $12,000, or I think it's $11,000 now because I've just written that check. Accrues, it's wise to keep some money in there to prevent what you're talking about, CJ, from we get this year where they're counting on these scholarships and we say, well, we only have $800 left. So I think that's a valid point.
Well, we would have to do that at the beginning though, because don't we sign those forms like when you start?
But you can change it at any time. The other side is you won't do that when you sign up for the board, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But if you wanted to change that
Every August.
every August or change it every other year, you can change it
That's what
as often as
CJ's
you
saying,
want. Yeah.
is that we should have a conversation about that, but usually you do that before your first board meeting, so you don't know.
But I think it's okay as long as you don't drain that.
But I mean, you can sit there and say, if the new person comes in and, puts it to PEF, if we decide in August to talk about it again, that gives us an opportunity to say, okay, I noticed that, hey, we didn't have enough in this, I'll shift mine over to that because I want to keep doing this, instead of just keeping it where it's at. So even if someone signs up anyway, have a discussion where when it's time, we can re-up, we can figure out if we want to go somewhere else just to make it even or keep the money going the way it's going before.
Through the regular discussion, they call attention to the fact that it's there too.
So
I don't know if anyone knows to ask that.
I didn't worry about it, donate mine, I just not donate it. I just picked one and just went and it's been there this whole time.
And to be honest with you, I didn't know where it was going either. I did know that board members donated their money until Tim brought it up. So that gave me an opportunity to look in there and see where it's going and how we're using it. So good discussion.
So I think we would just want to put this in our August pile.
Is August when we can change it if we need to change it?
You can change it any time.
It's the beginning of the school year.
It's a logical
We don't
time to do
typically
it.
meet July.
Right.
July or August, the end of July, we can do it then.
And so we could look at it and see where the allocations are and just make sure that we have the $1,000 and we can make that determination at that point.
Yep.
Okay.
Good idea.
Great, thank you. Next is the ITRT.
What you're receiving right now, along with the job description for the instructional technology administrator. Second will be for our ITRTs. So that way you have the ability to look at both.
And just a backdrop on this, this was another item requested to discuss in a work session. And as I understand it, to look at how we're using IT, what the position ITRTs entail, job description, and then making sure that we're using those positions wisely. They are very important positions in our division, been in place for many years. We really need one at each school. We're operating now with one of those positions being shared between the primary and elementary school. It's something we will certainly be talking about in budget time next year. But it was brought up by a board member to look at that and discuss specifically about the time in the evenings broadcasting meetings. A little backdrop on that, and I'm going to turn it over to Amber's going to talk a little bit about how this came to be and how we broadcast meetings and how the city council broadcast meetings. And so Amber, can you take it over from there?
Fantastic. So prior to our coming on board, our instructional technology resource teachers have always broadcast our meetings live from the actual regular school board meeting session. What happens is over the summer, there's a schedule that is created. You have a copy of that. That's a schedule that I handed you prior to the board meeting. And it shows you on one side our school board meetings. They get together and they identify There's one person that runs the meeting that they enjoy working together and cares just in case something needs to be troubleshot, and they do a great job. That will also gives a learning opportunity for any new ITRTs that come on board. So as you see here, each meeting date has been divided up. Typically, you're looking at about 4 meetings that the ITRT handles, and then a bonus person kind of comes along. So they're looking at 8 that they are here for to live stream. This is the schedule for this year. They are working on the schedule for next year. The way that it works out, if you look on the other side, so part of their contract, part of their job description is the broadcasting and working with any type of school division presentations, the broadcasting of it, presentation. If you look on the other side, you'll see city council. They also broadcast for city council, and the entire tech team works alongside that. As you'll see, we have a list of different meeting dates that they are utilized for, and city council pays them their hourly rate because they're employees of our Poquoson City Schools, not City of Poquoson or City Council. So they pay them their hourly rate, depending on what that is, and they work a minimum of 2 hours. So if the meeting is extended, then of course they would get paid their hourly rate for however many hours that may be. The job descriptions that you have in front of you, you have one for the ITRT, one for the Instructional Technology Administrator. As you'll notice, the broadcasting is on those. They also have a myriad of responsibilities that are instructionally based. The goal of our instructional technology resource teachers is to really push into those classrooms, to work as that co-teaching model. They work with the different subscriptions. They work with data management when it comes to SOL testing, helping to run that as well. But the main goal is to facilitate that instruction in the classroom. They lesson plan with teachers when needed. They really support our instructional program. So it's a lot of different responsibilities wrapped up in it, but they're listed out for you. And I didn't know if anyone had any questions.
And we're not absolutely certain what the questions were, so we wanted to add all the information about that, the ITRT program and how it works.
I will include their contract is a 10-month plus 20 days. And so those types of contracts are established to allow a little bit more flexibility during the summer. So the 20 days can be used anytime within the summer where needs are based, and they usually schedule those to ensure that there's somebody here. Are there any questions that I can help answer for you?
No, and I think I brought it up really just because I was going through our staff meeting minutes one time, and there was a discussion about
I believe you mentioned SOQ and the way the SOQ was written for policy as it related to data.
the assessment and compliance coordinator for the division, and then looking at IRT roles, I guess the state allows the district that flexibility to assign that type of role to an IRTT teacher. So I think it was just bringing that up to say, I know there's a lot of roles here already, but it's a question. Is a need brought by the staff, validated by the administration, validated by folks on this board? So I think that was one piece of it. And then looking at, they came up with kind of a best practices or best use things for ITRT teachers from the DOE. And, I don't, it's hard to have a one-on-one that, I don't know what we call broadcasting school board meetings, but it really wasn't in the spirit of anything I saw in that document.
Sure. What you will also notice is the position that you have up there, which is the Instructional Technology Administrator. That person really oversees when we talk about the appliance, the assessment. That was an ITRT position, but because of the additional data requirements and what we needed as a school division, that's why you see that position there. So they kind of oversee ITRTs, but also take on that data role and working with us. They work directly with our Director of Assessment and Accountability, and work with me as well.
That's a 12-month position.
That is.
So I just have a quick question. I think Marty kind of talked about this a little bit. The Poquoson Primary School and the Poquoson Elementary School are sharing an ITR team. Is the plan to, I think I heard this, to hire a fourth?
Yeah, that is in my top priorities for when we start thinking about next staff. There's a laundry list of staff we'd love to have. No organization, especially school business, has enough people to do all the things you need to be doing. And especially in a small school division, we suffer from that worse than most because we are small. A lot of people, every employee wears a lot of hats. That's just the nature of the beast. And you could pick, you all could pick any particular employee on our team and say, let's look at their job description, and then compare that to an employee in a neighboring school division, and you would find that the job description is more lengthy in Poquoson. That's just the fact. So we have, our neighbor, closest neighbor, York County, for example, have positions that are in each building where they do the testing, and they're glorified administrators. It's a position they've had for some years. I don't know all the details. Everybody's nodding that are familiar with that. Kelly, do you remember the name of what they call those positions?
ACC is nothing.
ACC, and I'm not sure what that stands for. I keep hearing about it. It's a position they have and they like it. It is fairly unusual. I don't know of a lot of school divisions that have those in every building, but they do have that luxury there. We hear about it a lot. Love to have those for all. But when you start talking about positions, you're talking about real money. We use the number around 77,000 as an earmark for because of salary plus compensation benefits. We use that for accounting purposes. And every time you're talking about adding a position, you're talking about $77,000. So we are very intentional about how we have that discussion, and we would not come to the board with a recommended position unless it was something we felt like we absolutely had to have and had significant justification for because it is costly. So those conversations happen during the budget cycle, and when we come to you with a position, it's something that staff has vetted.
So I don't know if there's we want to create a standing, work session that's like this, that you can stream easily, but when something has to be called, there should, I don't know if it's a discretionary fund or if we want to budget something like that to be able to compensate somebody if they have to sit here for 3 hours and live stream it.
I guess what
That's above and beyond.
and Tim, I 100% agree.
Set times.
I guess what I'm trying to understand, are we streaming YouTube for the work session and then YouTube and broadcast for the
however
main
we
meeting?
stream is done the same way, and it's the same way City Council streams. It is the way
It's
we
both.
broadcast.
Okay.
I don't know the exact
Pam, it's both
system.
YouTube and broadcast.
Okay.
And the channel. Okay.
So I would agree with that, like the ones here the hour before stream and have it up, but if we're gonna meet on a 2-week off day that we don't have a meeting, I think us filming it is probably better than bringing them in because they're already pulled for all these other times that they get here and keeping them late.
I think we do need to be a little careful with that because if we have a meeting that we have to pull pretty quick, it potentially could be a topic that,
People want
to know about. So,
They get posted the next day when we put it on there. I mean, it was up there with.
I'm talking about them being able to being able to, hear and really feel what's going on.
Audio quality.
I think that's ideal.
So I think I'm hearing that we'd like to go to the live broadcast version as a general rule, and if there's a need, if something necessitates out of sequence meeting, then we can discuss the method that we will broadcast. I think my preference would be that we do it the same way, because I think the public should be able to expect it the same way, regardless of if it's 2 weeks and I'm like Tim, if we need to use the discretionary fund to make something else happen, then I sort of think the commitment should be one way or the other. And if we need to find a different way to make that happen, we discussed tonight that we have a way to make that happen, so.
I would like Mr. Tillett to, administratively look at, are we going the best way about, taking care of the ITRTs from both the school board and work session standpoint.
Absolutely, we'll look into that and make sure we are.
And then maybe you can make a recommendation for, well, one, for next year, but two, if we did need to do something off cycle, if we could use our discretionary funds, how we could do that, so, to make that happen. But I do think standardization is probably, we should probably have it the same way every time. Okay. All right, then, does anybody have anything else for the work session? All right, then we'll adjourn our work session and we'll resume at 7 o'clock for the city, school board meeting. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the May 16th Poquoson City School Board meeting. All right, and Thatcher? And thank you, Thatcher, for coming. Thatcher will have a brief appearance with us today, and then he's going to head to his soccer game against Kickotan. He should already be there by now, so thank you for missing the first, hopefully, 5 minutes.
Yeah. If we could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now for a moment of silence. Thank you. And for the inspirational quote, if you spend your time waiting for the perfect moment when everything will feel right, you'll end up wasting all the imperfect moments that make up this beautiful life. And now directly into the reports. For the primary school, next week we will be celebrating Multicultural Awareness Day with some dress-up days, some sharing during morning meetings, sharing where our families come from in places around the country and around the world. We will tie in map skills and share what makes each of us special and unique, as well as what common ties and interests we may have. We will also have some visitors from Senor Morgan's Spanish class at PHS coming over to share stories and games in Spanish in some of our first grade library and Spanish classes. One of our most exciting activities this month has been our One Book, One School event. Every student and staff member has been reading the same book and participating in trivia questions that were given to students. Winners of the trivia questions were randomly selected from those who responded with the correct answers and given prizes. Readings have been conducted during the morning show with readers including Miss Kaysen, Miss Inslee, Miss Barefoot, and some of our classroom teachers. The culminating event will be a Mad Science Assembly for all students on May 29th. We have been rewarding several classes for having 100% attendance at school. Remember, we do not want your child to come to school if they are sick, but we do celebrate when they are here. We are also challenging our whole school to meet or beat 96% total attendance for the days between now and June 7th in order to earn a school reward. We have done this 2 days so far, 8 days to go still. We have also awarded several buses for Golden Bulls earned during our dismissal process. Students are meeting school-wide expectations as they wait for and then load their buses. We also thank our PTO and SPO for an amazing Staff Appreciation Week. For the elementary school, Poquoson Elementary School has been working through our end-of-year SOL assessments. We are very proud of how well our students and staff are working through the daily schedule changes to complete these assessments. We are looking forward to seeing their growth of our students that they have made as measured by the SOL tests. Our fourth graders recently performed in their music program singing Broadway hits and playing their recorders. Our music teacher, Miss Ferris, has worked so hard with all our grade levels this year. Our spring book fair was paired with our art showcase as well as our Spanish presentations. We appreciate the extra time Miss Wyndham, Mr. Ramirez, and Miss Parker put into this fun night for our students and families. We want to share a huge thank you to our PTO for their coordination of our Staff Appreciation Week. They set up breakfast, lunch, and goodies to say thanks for being out of this world. The way to our hearts is through our stomachs, and PTO made sure we were all well fed last week. We will be finishing out the remaining weeks of school with our school-wide field day, PTO anti-bullying assembly, 5th grade promotion, PHS evolution chorus performance, and the 3rd grade field trip to the Mariners Museum. We want to say thank you to our PCPS division leaders, school board, and community for your support. For the middle school, the PMS Jazz Band received superior ratings at assessment on April 30th. The Jazz Band is new this year, and this was their first time ever at assessments. A huge congratulations is extended to the PMS Jazz Band students and their outstanding band director, Mr. Lawson. PMS hosted our Bedford Falls Spring Book Fair at the beginning of May. Thank you to all those who made this event so successful. We are conducting our first rounds of SOL testing tomorrow. Makeups, remediation, and expedited retakes will occur from May 20th to June 3rd. We wish our Audie Save the Mind teams the absolute best of luck as they compete in the World Finals Tournament in Iowa next week. We are so proud of you. Our 7th grade students are excited to go on a field trip to the Virginia Living Museum on Monday, May 20th. PMS will host our spring chorus concert on Thursday, May 23rd, and our spring band concert on May 30th. Both outstanding performances will take place in the PMS Auditoria. Our band and chorus students, along with directors Mr. Lawson and Miss Wade, are wished the best of luck at assessments on May 31st at King's Dominion. Congratulations is extended to our May Golden Bowl Students of the Month in 6th grade, Crystal Dean, 7th grade, Trenton Bradley, and 8th grade, Kason Claiborne. PMS is excited to host our 8th grade send-off parade on June 4th from 5 to 6 p.m. in the PHS drop-off loop. This is an exciting event for our 8th graders and their families. We look forward to recognizing each student as they prepare to transition to high school. We would like to thank the PMS PTO, our parents, and the division for all of the support that was expressed to our faculty and staff in honor of Teacher Appreciation. Your notes, gifts, and treats are all greatly appreciated. And for the high school, as we approach the culmination of the academic year, Poquoson High School is abuzz with activity. Our students are gearing up with a series of important assessments, including CTE, AP, and SOL testing. We extend our best wishes to each student as they tackle these assessments, both upcoming and those already completed. Meanwhile, our sports teams are on the brink of regional playoffs slated to commence next week. Anticipation is high as our athletes prepare to vie for regional titles across multiple sports. We take pride in celebrating the achievements of our school community. Congratulations are in order for Miss Baldwin and our drama students for delivering stellar performances of Mamma Mia. Likewise, kudos to our jazz band for their exceptional performance at assessment, a milestone we haven't pursued in years. Looking ahead, we have several important dates to mark on our calendars. Prom and after-prom events are set for this Saturday. NHS inductions will take place on May 22nd. Senior Award Night is scheduled for May 29th, and graduation will be held on June 7th. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to our dedicated PTO for their generosity during Staff Appreciation Week, providing delicious food and thoughtful gifts. Additionally, we extend a big thank you to our after-prom committee for their tireless efforts in planning this week's event. I would also like to thank the board for allowing me to partake in a shorter meeting. Thank you.
Good luck. Go get them. Ms. Brown, are there any additions and or modifications to the agenda?
Yes, we have an amendment to the personnel action, which you have all received.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move that we take the personnel action, item C, and move it for a separate vote outside of the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I should have said it in my motion, it's due to potential conflict of interest.
And mine as well, due to a family member that is included on the personnel action.
Ms. Brown, would you please call for the vote?
Vice Chair Burbidge,
Aye.
Mr. Childress,
Aye.
Mr. DeBose,
Aye.
Dr. Goodale,
Aye.
Mr. Ingram,
Aye.
Ms. Jones,
Aye.
Chair Martin.
Aye.
Motion passes. Vote is 7-0.
Thank you. All right, then we'll continue with recognition.
So typically we would actually be recognizing Thatcher right now, but because of his game, we've actually postponed that until June. So you can look for that recognition to occur at our June meeting on the 18th. But next up, I would like to recognize the May Senior of the Month, who is a very involved and highly dependable young lady who seems to do it all. So through her involvement in numerous clubs, honor societies, sports, and employment, she has acquired excellent time management, organizational, and leadership skills. In the classroom, this young lady has earned a 4.3 GPA, has challenged herself with numerous honors, advanced placement, and dual enrollment courses. And due to her efforts, she has attained membership in the Math Honor Society, Mu Alpha Theta, the National Honor Society, French Honor Society, Science Honor Society, and Rho Kappa, which is the History Honor Society. And outside of the classroom, she is an active member of the Chick-fil-A Leadership Club, Excel Club, Leo Club, Arrive Club, and SCA, so practically everything. She is also a member of our Lady Islander basketball team as well as the track and field team. And when not involved in school activities, she has volunteered her time as a special friend to the primary school, as a junior volunteer at the Riverside Medical Center, working concessions at the Poquoson Little League, help at her church, and she's even a highly sought after babysitter in our community. She's currently employed as a membership sales agent for Cool Wave Washplex in Newport News, and she just, again, does it all. So this young lady plans to attend the University of Tennessee in the fall, where she intends to study political science. Please join me in congratulating Ms. Graydon Sizemore, our May Senior of the Month.
you. Congratulations.
At this time, we have a special presentation from the Poquoson Education Foundation. I would like to have Mrs. McCormick, Mrs. Harper, and Mrs. Stallings join us up front to share why they are here today.
We'd like to have some of our coaches join us, and that's Nora Remchuk, a coach for Honest and Ramon, and Chris McDaniel, that's also a coach.
And just so I can say that out loud so the people at home can hear, Mr. Remchuk, who is our club sponsor for all of our teams within the division, as well as Mr. McDaniel. So thank you.
We are so proud of these coaches who give so much of their time. Every Sunday afternoon, they're at the high school doing, what's it called? Spontaneous training. And they have told us this evening that since they started doing that, our kids have just skyrocketed into first and second place. There aren't very many people who would take that kind of time on a Sunday afternoon to work with kids. And Chris is a graduate of Poquoson High School, I have to say that. And
that's why we're over.
yeah. And so the Poquoson Education Foundation is proud to say that we are presenting them with a check. The real check will come later for $8,100 to help defray the cost of the expense to the parents, and I can't tell you how proud we are. Now, we are able to do that because we have one fundraiser a year. It's a 5K run, 2-mile walk. It's always the last Saturday of October, unless weather has us change it. And the people who have been our loyal sponsors for so many years have just stepped up to the plate every year and are just faithful and loyal to the PEF. So I want to give a shout out to all of those folks who sponsor us every year, and again say how proud we are of our 4 schools, all of whom get to go to Iowa.
Gotta hold it down something more. Down something. There you go.
Thank you. I really want to.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much to our partners, such as the Poquoson Education Foundation, for supporting many of our activities. And as Mrs. McCormick was saying, we do have 4 teams going to the world finals from the elementary, middle school, and high school. So thank you so much for sponsoring and participating and being involved in all of their lives. Thank you very much.
800 teams from around the world will be there with us.
800 teams from many, many different countries. Yeah, this is very exciting. Yeah, thank you. That does conclude our recognitions for the evening.
Thank you, Ms. Purdy. Ms. Brown, you have an instructional update?
All right. Good evening, Chair Martin, Vice Chair Burbidge, members of our board, as well as Mr. Tillett, our administrators, staff members who have joined us tonight, and our Poquoson community. I'd like to start tonight's instructional update by thanking our parents, our PTOs, administrators, and community members for the tremendous effort and the outpouring and support of love to our PCPS teachers and our staff. A special thank you goes out to the students and parents and staff members who sent personalized thank you messages to our staff members expressing gratitude and appreciation for the impact that has been made in your child's life. Your words last well beyond your child's graduation and make a lasting imprint on each teacher and staff member's heart. Poquoson Schools is a very special place. We're thankful for every family and student and parent who walks through our doors, and they become members of our family. So thank you all for entrusting us with your children every day and supporting and encouraging the very best staff in Virginia and beyond. For those of you who may have missed it, the Virginia Department of Education recognized Poquoson Primary Reading Specialist Wendy Green in last week's edition of the Superintendent's Virginia Education Updates. Each Wednesday, Ms. Green builds excitement for reading in our youngest readers. She introduces new vocabulary words through books, and she teaches the students how they can decode words, how they break them down, how they look at new words they may not know, and look at syllables. There's also so much more to celebrate in our schools. Ms. Green is just one. At Poquoson Middle School, as you heard earlier, Mr. Lawson, our band director, has assembled a jazz band this year, and it is the first year he has done this. He wanted to offer more opportunities for our students to share their love for music. And at our most recent assessment, I'm excited to announce that their very first assessment ever, PMS Jazz Band received all superior ratings, which is unheard of. So congratulations, PMS, and of course, Mr. Lawson as well. Finally, although he has left, a huge thank you goes out to Mr. Norm Remchuk and his staff, sponsors, and the parents who have worked countless hours with our Odyssey of the Mind teams throughout the year. As a former OMer, I can tell you that it is something for a niche of our students, and they have incredible opportunities that they will never forget and hopefully keep bringing back to Poquoson. We wish them the very best of luck next week as they go to Iowa for their World Finals. So, coming soon, we have our Summer Academy for Poquoson City Public Schools. Summer Academy this year will be from July 1 to July 25th. Our schools have sent home their permission slips, so students have received those, and they are sending that message out as well. But just so that everyone knows, of course, we won't have school on the 4th of July. Our permission slips are going to be due back on May 24th, and that is a Friday. This year, PCPS is going for the goals with our Summer Academy program. This year, our summer school principal will be Miss Lamb, our current assistant principal at Poquoson Elementary School. We've invited over 350 students, K-12. Some of the different programs we'll be working on will be acceleration programs for our students. In addition, we are also offering some sorts of enrichment programs. If you'll recall, earlier this year I mentioned that we were accelerating our math classes in order to help some of our students that are moving into that pre-algebra class. We're also going to have a session to enrich them and get them ready for some of those 6th and 7th grade skills that they may not have prior to reaching pre-algebra, and that information will be coming out to our families and students soon. We also have driver's ed and PE. We have a middle school program as well. All of our students will be at Poquoson Elementary School this year, except for our extended school year students that are pre-K students, and they will be over at the primary school, which is most appropriate for our Little People equipment. Finally, for our updates, as you well know, May is the month of the assessment, and our schools have been assessing student mastery and learning from PALS and SOL testing to our AP exams, which have concluded. Tomorrow concludes our testing for middle school, and then we will have one more day next week for our reading in high school, and then we get into expedited and retesting and really working with our students to hone skills. We'd like to thank all of our parents for ensuring that our students get a good night's sleep, that they are well fed and prepared and ready for those assessments, and they're ready to do their best each day. As we wind down the year, just a few dates, I believe that Thatcher shared a few of those, but just for our families at home as well as our board members, some of the notable dates coming up. May 30th, we have our first grade singing the national anthem at the Peninsula Pilots game. Very exciting if you haven't had an opportunity to participate in that event. It's incredible. June 7th is our second grade final walk as we walk them out. PES, June 6th, 5th grade promotion ceremony will be occurring. The middle school, we've got our chorus and our band concerts coming up. And of course, on June 4th, it's our 8th grade send-off parade. And finally, at the high school, they are still going strong. So we will have prom this weekend and after prom. And thank you so much to all of our parents and staff members and everyone that kicks in for after prom. It is an incredible event for our students, but it takes a whole lot of preparation and volunteerism. May 22nd, we have National Honor Society induction. The 29th, our senior scholarship ceremony. And on June 3rd, it's our primary school walk to really excite our young people so they can see their future selves, and our senior carnival. June 6th is graduation practice, and the main event occurs on June 7th when it's the culmination of all the hard work we have put in together, parents, staff, school board, and everyone. And that concludes tonight for some of our updates instructionally. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. So the 350 students you were talking about, is that the threshold that they met from the All in Virginia program, or what's that?
So some are from All in Virginia. Other students may be students who possibly passed an SOL, but we're noting that they need a little bit more help. We look over at our teacher recommendations. We look at different progress and mastery on whether it be unit assessments, and if a teacher really feels like in order to be totally prepared that they're there. It could be some students that our PALs identified, and maybe they weren't identified elsewhere. If you recall, for All in Virginia, it only starts with 3rd grade. So we have a lot of students that are going to be our kindergarten through 2nd grade students that we might notice some reading difficulties and they need a little extra help, or math difficulties as well.
I was just curious, going back to, and I'm not sure if this is exactly the right place to ask it, but I believe we spoke about in the instructional update back in February, there was the survey that was sent out to everyone about the just schools overall and the school engagement survey. And I was curious how the results of that will be presented. I know it takes a while to accumulate massive amounts of data like that, but is that something high-level summary format, or just to wrap up that from the end of February timeframe?
Sure, we can actually bring those results to you in June when we come about, and we can do a presentation on that. We'll have them ready for you.
The purpose of those surveys is to inform staff.
Certainly.
But we will certainly bring out a report for you guys to look at kind of the summary.
Certainly, understood. Yes, I definitely don't mean down in the extreme details, but I do think a high level, since it was presented to parents and community members, et cetera, I would personally be interested to see high level overall summary if that is something that.
Absolutely doable.
Great. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Thank you all very much.
We have our operations update with Dr. Ratliff.
Good evening, Madam Chair Martin, Mr. Tillett, and board members. I do have your operations update tonight. We have several different things that we need to go through. The first thing we need to talk about is the Poquoson Middle School gym, as we have had some exciting events there happen over the last few weeks. In the renovation, the HVAC units that were put in the gym were not the correct units. Essentially, the units that were put in were very noisy. They were so noisy you couldn't really have class. So while we were working with contractors to try to get that fixed, we made it work by working with the controls in it, in how they alternated and how they ran, so they could still have class and we could still have heat. Over spring break, one of the units was replaced, so then basically they'll function as they should be functioning. During that replacement, one of the contractors that were there on a lift hit one of the sprinkler lines and broke one of the sprinkler lines in half. When that happened, the gym was flooded. We brought in our insurance company. We're working with our insurance company directly rather than the vendor's insurance company. But at this point, there is standing water underneath the gym floor. We have spots in the gym floor that is beginning to buckle, and our insurance company has recommended a complete tear out and replacement of that floor. The cost of that is roughly $183,000. Again, we're working through our insurance company. They'll subrogate through the vendor that hit the sprinklers insurance company. We feel more comfortable in working with Versa and going through this. Summer projects, I didn't get into the weeds of everything we do. I just kind of hit some highlights of the things that we'll be going through. The fire alarm at the primary school right now, they're in the process of installing it. We're going to have a playground installed at the elementary school over the summer. All the schools will be deep cleaned. Any of the routine maintenance, or not necessarily routine maintenance, but maintenance that you can't perform while kids are in school and other adults are in the building, will be taken care of. We've got some access control additions going in at the high school. There's 4 makeup air units. I think you all have heard me talk about them several times at the elementary school. We have 2 of them running now. We hope to get the other 2 online this summer. At the athletic field, the football field, we're going to be moving the fence I guess to describe where the walkway is, we're bringing the fence back closer to it to delete the area that it's really hard to watch a lot of the little ones that are kind of playing not always supervised well during the games. The elementary school and the high school will have their floor refinished. The middle school obviously will have a new floor laid, so that will not be refinished. And then the middle school floor installation. One benefit of this is it was on the capital improvement plan to have the middle school floor completely sanded down. I don't remember what year that was in, but that is about a $30,000 to $50,000 project. That life now will turn around to be at least 10 years, and likely we're going to get a lot more than that out of it when it's all said and done. The playground. We received bids for the playground on May 3rd. We received 9 different options, bids from 4 different companies. Myself, Ms. Grisco, a city councilman, an elementary school teacher, and an elementary school parent evaluated the bids. The bid amounts ranged from $41,000 to $191,000. We had a very wide range of designs and bids and everything that we looked at. We narrowed those bids to 2 different designs, and then we came back to, it was from 2 different contractors, and we asked for them to each give a couple of slight modifications to those designs to more suit exactly what we needed. So at this point, we are waiting on one of the designs to come back. Once we get the second one back, we'll come back together as a team and hopefully move forward fairly quickly. We do think that this will be able to be installed and complete prior to the beginning of the school year. Tonight on your agenda items for approval, you have an approval item for the superintendent to sign a contract with a new third-party administrator, the Pierce Group. As we looked, and Ms. Spence could tell you this more directly than I could, we looked when I was looking to see exactly how long it had been. It's been about 10 to 15 years since we have put out to bid for a third-party administrator. Really, we want to make sure that we're getting the best for our employees, we're giving the best benefits possible, and you know, doing our due diligence to seek out and make sure that we give them the best offerings that we can. But what a third-party administrator does, as well as helping to shop and keep our insurance costs low, it offers additional benefits to PCPS employees. It doesn't cost the division anything. Everything that I guess the money that comes from that is from the benefits the employees determine if they want to purchase themselves or not. Examples of additional benefits that are able to be purchased: flexible spending accounts, group term life, long-term care benefits, cancer benefits, critical illness, short-term disability, accident, term life, whole life, legal benefits. So tonight you have an agenda item to approve the superintendent to sign off on the contract with that. And that was through a RFP, a competitive bidding process. That's how we arrived with the Pierce Group. And finally, the school security officer grant. This past week we have found out that we did get awarded the continuation grant for year 2 going into this. The approximate funding that we actually receive from the grant is roughly $127,000 a year, and that is a little over $500,000 over the course of the 4-year grant term. And then there is the potential that that grant term can be spread out to a 5th year. You're just not, it's a little bit harder to get that 5th year, but the 4th year, as long as you continue to do what you need to do, it really shouldn't be an issue yearly to get that. Our SSO program is running really smooth at the high school, the middle school, and the elementary school. We still have a position posted for the primary school. But I think the good thing is we've kind of got the kinks out of everything at this point, and we're running pretty well with that all the way around. Be happy to answer any questions.
Dr. Ratliff, on the gym floor replacement, have we pressed insurance to pay for moisture mitigation so we can install the floor earlier?
I'm sorry?
Have we pressed insurance to do moisture mitigation or pay for moisture mitigation?
If it's necessary, we will.
I'm just saying if we were to press them based on time.
We won't have to press them. If it's there, then it's going to be done, and that's a part of the reason. Honestly, if they could have ripped the floor out 2 weeks ago, they would have ripped it out. We didn't want to do it while kids were still in school, since we only had a couple of weeks to go. But no, that is a primary concern of theirs, is the moisture under the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Brown, do we have public comment?
We have one speaker this evening. That will be Ms. Sherry Dykstra of 20 Ingrams Road.
MES. I'm going to read the public comment statement and then we'll get started. The Poquoson School Board welcomes public comment during regular meetings. School board members do not respond to public comment during a meeting. All comments should address a matter related to Poquoson Public Schools. The school board will not hear public comment that involves an individual student-related matter, the disclosure of which would violate applicable confidentiality requirements. The school board expects that each speaker will be courteous, modeling for our students how one can respectfully disagree with others' views. Speakers will address their comments to the entire board and not to one individual board member, nor to the superintendent, a staff member, or the audience. Speakers are encouraged not to engage in personal attacks. Speakers will present their comments from the podium, and to follow school board policy, time allotted speakers shall be 3 minutes.
Hello, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Sherry Dykstra. I wasn't planning on speaking, but since you all did talk about the broadcasting of the work sessions, and I was vocal about that months ago, I did want to thank you tonight for, it sounds like you guys are going to go live, and we're going to compensate the wonderful women back there, so I really do appreciate it. There was just a couple more things I'll just add. Odyssey of the Mind, I actually have a child that's on the middle school team. This is his 2nd year. He's one of the builders this year, and it is truly amazing. Norman Rimchuk, I just can't say enough the details. He wants to make sure the kids' doors are decorated next week. I mean, I was just talking to Madam Chair about that because she also has a child that's on the middle school team. But it's just an exciting experience, and I wish we had 100 more Norman Rimchuks because he doesn't have any children in the school system anymore, and just the time he puts in, I just personally, I can't thank him enough. And just one more thing about the gym floor. This is the first I've heard. I knew it was going to be replaced, but just being a native of Poquoson and a high school graduate of here, if we can keep it old school and keep that logo, not go with anything new, I would really appreciate it. But anyway, I just wanted to add that. Thank you so much for all of your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Burbidge, would you like to read the consent agenda?
Yes. For tonight's consent agenda, approval of financial reports, authorization to change appropriation and to accept and expend funds in accordance with attached request. We're separating approval of personnel action, approval of minutes for April's regular meeting, approval to dispose of surplus property, approval to authorize the superintendent to sign a contract for third-party administration services with the Pierce Group.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
So any of the equipment, like the boilers and chillers and stuff like that, can those be auctioned off or, something like that? Are they salvageable in any way?
Our boilers and chillers, when they go replaced?
In
Yeah.
the surplus?
Yes, anything that's of value, we're required to offer through surplus. That's part of our ordinance. So anything that has a value will be surplused. There's a whole process of how that happens, how it's advertised, and I can't tell you off the top of my head what the value, if there is any, of the boilers when they're removed, but if it has value, we have to surplus it.
So like the weights and everything else, I guess, will that get posted? Because
it's posted. There's a process. Dr. Ratliff can tell you the details, but we have a policy about surplus distribution and how that happens. It's advertised for a certain amount of time, and we can't discard anything that's bought with public funds until it's been surplus. And it's an auction.
After it is approved for surplus, we can put it up for auction. If it doesn't sell, we would think it.
Right. There's a time frame. There's a whole process of how long that happens.
Ms. Brown, will you please call for the vote?
Vice Chair Burbidge.
Aye.
Mr. Childress.
Aye.
Mr. DeBose.
Aye.
Dr. Goodale.
Aye.
Mr. Ingram.
Aye.
Ms. Jones.
Aye.
Chair Martin.
Aye.
Motion passes. Vote 7-0.
Thank you. And we moved the approval of the personnel action to other matters for consideration. Is there a motion to approve the personnel action?
I make a motion to approve the personnel action.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I'll just note, if it's appropriate, that I do plan to abstain due to a immediate family member that is included on the support personnel reappointment list.
Thank you. Ms. Brown, will you please call for the vote?
Vice Chair Burbidge.
Aye.
Mr. Childress.
Aye.
Mr. DeBose.
Abstain due to a conflict of interest.
Dr. Goodale.
Aye.
Mr. Ingram.
Aye.
Ms. Jones.
Abstain.
Chair Martin.
Aye.
Motion passes. Vote is 5 to 2 abstention. 5-0 2 abstention.
Thank you. All right, we're going to start with our communication and other matters by school board and or superintendent. And we'll start with you, Mr. Ingram.
Yeah, I want to congratulate Ms. Sizemore for Senior of the Month, and good luck to the soccer team tonight. Good luck to Odyssey of the Minds, and want to congratulate Miss Wendy Green for being recognized. And if I may, I want to read something, please. Madam Chair, I would like to take this opportunity to inform the board and the public I will not be seeking reappointment at this time. I have prayed over this decision and discussed this with my family. My morals and values that my parents and my church instilled in me conflict with some of the decisions I must make while seated at this dais. When it comes to this position, I take it seriously. When the law states schools must keep doors open and has no relation to masking, then we were advised to mask. I was embarrassed after finding out the word mask was not included in the law we said we would follow. When a law states nothing is to interrupt the 4 core subjects, yet the board approved the opposite, I cannot be a part of reducing the educational experience of the students in this division. When the chair goes above the statutory authority and rules of order and asks for an alternative motion or a substitute motion, and adds words to a motion, thus changing the motion's direction, there can never be any order to a meeting. The countless hours of research and attempts to contact organizations as part of due diligence so I can make an informed decision, only to be told I have no authority to do so, or not receive a reply from programs at all. Let me forewarn this board and future boards. These educational programs do not care if you're responsible for final decisions of the school district. It is your job and legal duty to dig and find the answers. If a policy does not reflect law, stand against it, because you have no authority to enact a policy unless the General Assembly, according to Dillon's rule, gives you that authority. I will be the first to admit it is an uncomfortable situation, but fighting for the rights of the students in this school division is more important than status or worrying about who's your friend. True friends will stand beside you. You are in charge of charting the course for the future of Poquoson and our country. To City Council, I would like to thank you for entrusting me of being a trustee of the school division, not once but twice. I enjoyed the joint sessions and sidebars after the meetings. My wish is to fade off into the sunset and finish out this appointment. In a few years, or if things change between now and May 28th, I may seek a new appointment, or who knows, the board may be elected by that time. To the teachers and staff, thank you to the ones who contacted me. I tried to be a voice of reason for you whenever you asked. I'm sorry I cannot convince the majority of what the teachers wanted and needed. I would also like to thank the ones that criticized me and critiqued me. Without criticism, there can be no refinement or lessons learned. I wish all our teachers and staff much luck and success. To the parents, thank you for your support, telephone calls, and kind words. It is very difficult to find a balance between parents and teachers in 6 unique thought processes of board members. My only goal was to bring back traditional learning, not introduce transformative learning. Whenever a topic came up in a work session, the first thing I would ask, why can we not do it the way we were taught in school? Now some of our schools utilize transformative learning theory that is interwoven with social and emotional learning the district has recently subscribed to via majority vote. To the students, when in school, my parents told me my job was to learn and have fun. I am now passing that bit of wisdom to you. Be kind to your teachers and respect them. Remember, respect is earned, not given. Your teachers are gifting you with the knowledge needed to succeed. With that, teachers have already earned the respect. Always remember the saying, knowledge is power. The most powerful tool you can possess is knowledge. While in school, your teacher is sharing knowledge with you. It is your job to go above and beyond to expand your learning outside the walls of the classroom. Lastly, students, treat others as you would want to be treated. If you're kind to people, people will be kind to you. If you're a bully or disrespectful, people will bully you or be disrespectful to you. The real world is not some fantasy. You will learn this with age. And finally, to my family, I would like to thank you for supporting my decision to be on the school board. The long nights and reading research articles and comparative analysis of different learning techniques until 3 a.m. is over now. Now it is time we focus on one another and our walk with God. Thank you.
Dr. Goodell?
Yeah, I wanted to thank Graydon, congratulate Graydon, the Student of the Month. Also recognize the schools, the SOLs. We're in the home stretch, only a couple more days. The Poquoson Education Foundation for their generous support of the Odyssey of the Mind, and best of luck to those teams out in the world teams. And 14 days of school left, so I know there's some excited students and teachers, and Teacher Appreciation Week. Again, we appreciate everything you do.
Mr. Childress?
I think everything's already been said. I would like to congratulate Odyssey of Mine, and hopefully they keep going on so we can keep congratulating them. The PEF for helping with their donations through our schools. Student of the Month, Ms. Sizemore, and all the teachers for a great year. Like you said, 2 more weeks hopefully, and then y'all can have the break and start looking forward to next year.
Ms. Jones?
Echo the same. Congratulations to Ms. Sizemore, as well as our teacher, Ms. Green, on her worthy recognition as well. Best of luck to all of our OM teams in Iowa next week, and a thank you to the PEF for their very generous contribution. What an awesome thing to support. And also just wishing our Poquoson High School juniors, seniors, and their guests a safe and wonderful time at prom this weekend. And an early and advanced thank you to the PTO and after prom committee. I can't imagine the work that goes into planning an after prom. And I guess I will see it in the years to come, but I'm not there yet, just observing from the outside. And thank you for all you have done and for all you will continue to do through this weekend to make that very worthwhile event a tremendous success. I know it will be.
Mr. DeBose?
As typical, echo everybody else's comments regarding all of the recognitions throughout the schools. I do want to thank Ms. Brown for the comment she made earlier regarding teachers and students, the connection that teachers and students have. It was actually very appropriate. Some of you may know that we lost a very dear teacher yesterday. Ms. Godden passed away. So for those that know her, she was one of those teachers. So thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Burbidge?
Yes, I'd like to thank Ms. Sizemore, or congratulate Ms. Sizemore and the Student of the Month. Ms. Sizemore was my son's first grade teacher at the primary school years ago. I'd also like to thank Wendy Green and her recognition as one of the top reading specialists in the state. Mr. Lawson and the work that he's done with our middle school jazz band. And just reiterating the work that Mr. Remchuk has done with Odyssey of Mind, and I hope that they have a successful competition in Iowa. It's a long way to go, but I'm sure they'll do well. And also I'd like to congratulate all the teachers and staff that have been working through assessments the last couple of weeks and continuing week, I guess. I know it's a lot of work, but my son, it was a smooth week, so they're doing a great job. Thank you.
And for me, I will echo the sentiments of the board and thank Mr. Ingram for his service to the community and the school board. We appreciate that and your time for sure. Want to say thanks to Mr. Remchuk. My child is also on the middle school OM team, and looking forward to my first experience at OM Worlds. I hear it's going to be great, but I don't know about Ames, Iowa, y'all. But I'm going to find the world's largest concrete gnome while I'm there. I'm going to take her with me. I'll take Ms. Dykstra with me. I also would like to reiterate the thanks for Mr. Lawson and the jazz band. I heard that not only did they get the superior rating, but that they blew it out of the water, and they said it was by hands down the best performance. And even some of my own jazz band were kind of they were almost better than we were at the high school. So I think that's a testament to what we have in our schools, and it's just one example, but it's one example that I know really well, and I think it's just an example of how great we are and can be. I also would like to thank Dr. Ratliff. I know the work that goes behind a flood in a facility. We have them frequently too, especially when there's construction going on. So I can only imagine all of the mitigation that had to go into that, and phone calls and after hours work. So appreciate that work as well. So thank you.
Ditto, all of that. I echo. I think everyone's been thanked and congratulated, all well deserved. I do want to reiterate a thank you to our staff. This is a challenging time of the year, exciting time, but as you saw in Ms. Brown's presentation, there's all the work during the day, and then there's something every night, which is exciting, fun, but it's also a busy time. So thank you. 14 and a half days to go. Keep up the good work, and we appreciate very much all that you do.
Any other material for board review? All right, then we stand adjourned. Thank you. We're going in.